I had to accept that I was never going to look the same, never going to feel the same. You have to grieve yourself. You have to grieve the person you were before they told you that you had cancer. I did still continue to wipe my own butt. I think this might get flagged. Hi everybody, Stephanie from the future here. I wanted to hold my microphone like a real YouTuber. So I had an intro all planned for this video, but things have changed and I've gotten new information since it was filmed. So let me fill you in. I now have stage 2A breast cancer. Originally it was just in my milk duct. It was early cancer. It was called DCIS. And the only way to get rid of that is to do a double mastectomy and take out your breast tissue. Well, then they found microinvasive pieces, which are little pieces like less than a millimeter. And they said that makes you stage 1 essentially because it has left the milk duct, right? So we knew I did the right thing. But recently we had my left lymph node tested, one of my sentinel lymph nodes on my left side tested, and they found 4 millimeters of cancer in that. So I am really practicing what I preach here in this video because I talk about radical acceptance. And I wanted to give you guys like the Google definition of the difference between acceptance and radical acceptance real quick. So acceptance is accepting something as it is, while radical acceptance is fully experiencing the reality of a situation without judgment. I look at radical acceptance as moving through it and forward and embracing the situation for what it is, acknowledging the situation for what it is, and just taking steps to get through it. I don't necessarily think I'm going to be skipping through these next steps because now I'm looking at radiation. I'm looking at a drug that will be a hormone blocker and send me into early menopause. I'm looking at a lot of different things right now. There's a lot of fear. The first day I found out, it was a mess. Like I was in bed and I was really sad because here I thought I had early breast cancer. That was just stage 0, you know, and all of a sudden I'm stage 2. And this is what happens. Like cancer doesn't follow a certain route and things change all the time and tests change. And I have a great team and I know that I will have a great plan put in place, but I just wanted to fill you guys in that I have really been focusing on taking info as it comes, sitting with it, and then understanding that I have to move through it and I have to walk this path, and I can do it dragging my feet miserable, or I can just do it with my head held high and the best that I can. So anyway, I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. I don't know what to tell you guys. How do I start this? When you find out that you have cancer, the world doesn't stop. Especially if you have kids, especially if you have a job, especially if you, like, who doesn't have a life? Everyone has something important to them, whether it's a partner, an animal, a child, a job, a business. You really just have to like fit in all of these appointments and all of your like stress and worry and energy. And it's weird because you don't think you have capacity in your day-to-day life to deal with cancer, but you really do. And so you have to grieve yourself. You have to grieve the person you were before they told you that you had cancer. You have to grieve that. It is not something that you can just pretend like you don't care about. Like cancer is something that happens to other people, I think, right? So like why not? Why me? Why me? And I always say, why not me? Because I don't necessarily think that it's not in our control. Genetics and life and the way the world is has a lot to do with it, and people get cancer all the time. Whether you do the right things or not, whether you stay away from the things you should stay away from, people still get cancer. Healthy people get cancer all the time. And so you have to grieve that part of yourself that was like, there was a person before cancer and then there's the person after. Like it's really hard to do, but I was very intentional about it. Like I tried to be really intentional about saying goodbye to not only my breasts, but to all of the feelings and the thoughts I used to have. Like, I don't want to talk about this if I don't have a relationship with you. Like, otherwise I'd be happy to share, but people are so bold and they're like, oh, so is everything okay now? It's like, these questions that you ask make no sense because nothing's okay. I could get cancer again. There's still 1 to 2% chance, even though I had all my breast tissue removed. Like, no, it's not okay. And no, I don't want to get into it with you. And no, I can't explain it to you because I don't know you and I don't want to explain it to you. It feels very forced. Like I've had so many awkward conversations where people want to know how you're doing and I just want to clam up. And that is so unlike me. But I just sit there and I think, I don't want to talk about this. And then I get together with close friends and I can just like let it all out, or my family. And I do like to talk about things in my life. I do like to share what I'm struggling with. Keep that in mind. If you don't know someone very well, they get to bring it up. You don't get to bring it up. So if you have cancer, it's about time you get comfortable with uncomfortable conversations and situations. I'm sorry, I wish it wasn't like that, but it is. Thankfully, your community will show up like never before. You will not need or want for things if you have a strong family unit, if you have a extended family, if you have a strong friend group. I can't imagine going through all of this alone. My husband has been amazing, my parents have been amazing, my siblings, my best friend, my close friends, communities, my extended relatives in other states, like everybody has been amazing. People have sent cards and gift cards and money and brought meals for meal trains. Your community shows up and you have to take the help. And it's really hard because who wants to take help? You know what I mean? Like, we all want to be independent. Like, and I'm one of those people where I actually really enjoy, like, if you're like, oh, let me buy you a lunch. I'm like, okay, well, oh, let me fix your tire. Like, I don't want to change my own flat tire, but I want to. But like, this is different. Like, it's hard to accept so much help. Like, to the point was I couldn't even lift my arms at all for a while, and I could barely move after surgery, and you have to rely on other people to get your food. I did still continue to wipe my own butt. I do have a bidet. Before anyone suggests that in the comments, I have a bidet. It's cold though. It's so cold. I gotta get a heated one before my next surgery. Yeah, so I have a bidet, but I don't love it. And I have hemorrhoids because I've given birth 3 times. So those are a part of me now, and it's just painful. But anyway, I could barely reach to wipe myself. There were so many humbling experiences, and my husband like bathing me and washing me, you know, forget about shaving, forget about deodorant, forget about anything. Forget about brushing your own hair. Forget about preparing your own food. This is way harder than I thought it would be. Been really tough. Yeah, I'm not as strong as I was. You have to accept help, and that's incredibly, incredibly difficult, but in the end, you'll be so glad you did, I promise. When you get diagnosed with cancer, you are going to want to do like a couple things. You are going to go through like the 5 stages of grief, but you are going to be super angry, but there's not a lot of time for that. I come from the theater world where when you don't get a role that you desperately wanted and it's heartbreaking, if you spend too much time sitting and wallowing, you won't see the next audition or be ready for the next opportunity. So we would always give ourselves 24 hours. And I live by that now. When I have a disappointment in my career as a name consultant and a content creator, even as a mother, when you have a big disappointment, you give yourself 24 hours and then you get up. You don't have to be happy. You don't have to, jump up, because while there's only a limited amount of space for the anger, there's also a limited amount of space for toxic positivity. I will say that. I appreciate the kind words and thoughts and prayers, but the fact is, like, just blindly believing that if you have faith that everything will work out, it's not for me. So I don't want to live in negativity land, but I also don't want to live in toxic positivity land. I want to achieve what, one of my good friends told me from therapy is called radical acceptance. Have you guys heard of this? Radical acceptance is when you basically agree with the universe and the world that it is what it is, and there's nothing you can do about it. Life hands you things and you have to accept them, and it is not in your control. And I think that's one of the hardest things for human beings to do, is to accept that we don't have any control over the things that happen to us, the big scary things, right? It's hard though, because you're like, well, I work hard for my business and I work hard for my kids and I work hard, and so why can't I have control over this? But there's no way that, like, you can work towards good things, and some bad things come from actions that we take, right? But there are some things that are just out of our control, like somebody else's opinion of you, someone else's situation, getting a really bad illness or disease like cancer, out of your control. So radical acceptance for me is huge. It's something that I have been practicing for, a long time, like maybe not intentionally using those words, but as someone who has a lot of anxiety and fears around the world, about the world, and like fears just like of driving at night and silly little things, it's something that I'm always working on. I don't think it's something I can master and that I'm going to be like, I'm amazing now at radical acceptance. But I do think there is a point where, especially when they said we need to take your breast that is cancer, and I chose to get rid of both of them. But I had to accept that I was never going to look the same, never going to feel the same. Everything is going to change, and it's absolutely terrifying. And how do you get to that point where you literally can just say, I accept it? Because if you spend too much time in the like, I can't believe this is happening, and the spiraling, it doesn't get you anywhere. Now, I would be different if this was happening to someone else in my life, possibly. I'm trying to do my best for myself, but I know it's hard. I know it's hard for my parents to watch me and all of my family to watch me go through this, but I just have to keep somewhat of a positive outlook. Is positive the right word? Neutral. I have to keep a neutral outlook. It is what it is. That is the truth about living with cancer. It really is what it is. You don't get to decide. You have to do your best. You have to make the decision at the time with the information that you have, and you might have different information in a month, but right now they're asking you, what are we doing? What surgery? What do you want to do? And you have to decide with what you know right now. And I think it's scary and it's really hard for people, but that's the truth. If you can find joy in everyday things, this nail doesn't want to come off the sticker for me. If you can find joy in everyday things, if you can allow yourself to grieve your old life and your old situations, and if you can just like move forward with a clear head and like doing the best that you can, you're gonna be okay. We're all gonna be okay. But like, do you want to be miserable okay, or do you want to be decently happy okay? For me, cancer has been about putting one step in front of the other, like one foot in front of the other, taking it one day at a time. My drains were absolutely miserable, you guys. The pain I felt when they pulled that tubing out, it's like this much tubing and they just go like this. It's so much in there, and my skin had been irritated because I had a leak by one of my drain sites. And so one of the top 3 worst painful experiences of my life. And that's not how everyone feels about drains. Most people are like, oh, it's an uncomfortable tugging, or they don't even notice, but not me. My skin was red and irritated and inflamed. It was not infected. That is a huge difference, because that's even worse. But she could tell right when she saw it. She's like, oh my gosh, this is bad. So I screamed through both of them. There might have been some curse words. There was definitely some crying, and I felt kind of stupid, and I kept saying that to the nurse. I was like, I'm so sorry. And she's like, no, it's okay. She didn't make me feel stupid at all, but I made it through. Like, I did it. I got my drains out at 2.5 weeks. They had been tugging and pulling on the holes. They had been so painful. I was sleeping in my recliner, my grandma's recliner, and I was trying to do so good about, not moving my body. And I was really miserable those first couple weeks. And I felt so much better since the drains have come out. But I know they serve a purpose, so radically accepting. Anyway, getting the drains out was huge. But having to go right back into a second surgery, so I just had a surgery a few days ago, and I'm doing so well because it is smaller, but you still have to go under. And I had to wait hours because it was later in the day, and they were busy and a little behind, and it was hard. I had wrapped my head around the idea that I was going to have another surgery when I do my reconstruction, because right now I still have my tissue expanders in. But I had not wrapped my head around like a second surgery within a couple weeks. Like, that was way too much. I don't want to go under anesthesia. I didn't want to, be out of it and be cut open and all of the things, get an IV placed. It makes me really nauseous to get an IV placed. All of these things, and I couldn't eat all day. But it turned out okay. And it was one of those things where, like, you've done this, you can do it again. But it's easier to say it, radical acceptance. It's easier to talk about it than to practice it, right? But what part of cancer is fair? Like, what part of cancer is fair? There's nothing fair. My fingers are stuck together. There's nothing fair about it. Look, this makes me happy. Putting on nails, like being a name consultant and doing name orders, filming videos. Spending time with my kids. We're starting to decorate. Find things you love about yourself, because you're not going to recognize yourself post-surgery. You're not going to look your best. You're not going to feel your best. So find things that you love about yourself. As your body changes, as your mental state changes, make a list if you have to. And then eliminate the things in your life that don't serve you or make you happy, whether that's friendships or a bad job or whatever it is. You don't have to do everything. Like, what is the most important to you? How can you live your life so that you don't have any regrets and so that you make the most? Because it is it does make you think about mortality. Having cancer makes you think about mortality no matter what stage cancer you have. It makes you think long term, it makes you question everything, and it makes you really scared. So eliminate the things that don't make you happy. And finally, find a way to process it. While I have been processing online loudly in front of hundreds and thousands of people, that's not what everyone wants to do. Some people are going to journal, some people are going to start a Caring Bridge blog and share that out. But I will have this video diary, and I'm really excited to have these like feelings and emotions pinned down, because I can anticipate them leaving and me forgetting, and my husband being like, you were really upset, this happened. I'll be like, I don't think so. my memory is quite shady. Like, she doesn't remember much. she twists things. So I personally need a way to process, and you can process in whatever way. Maybe you do meditation, maybe you do journaling, maybe you sing, maybe you write a song, maybe you write a poem. I process online and sharing, and the comments I get, you guys, the messages, the like, oh my gosh, that is so amazing, that is so cool that you, are sharing the behind the scenes. It's been really helpful, or I know somebody going through it, or I'm scared because I'm gonna have my double mastectomy coming up, and it's been really helpful to watch your videos. Like, people want to be there for you, and they want to support you, and I'm so grateful for the Names with Steph community. I couldn't have asked for a better community, truly. Finally, I want to show you guys something I got from the UK from an Etsy. I think this might get flagged. I think I might have to keep my fingers over the over the nipples, but I got a sculpture made of my breasts so that I will have them forever. It's a little paperweight size. I got the pink back because for breast cancer, but yeah, I sent photos, and this lovely woman named Effie made this beautiful sculpture, and the way I look now is very different with my scars. And I know this isn't permanent either, because I am going to have reconstruction surgery where I'm going to take the abdominal fat and put it up here. But it's so special. This was another way, like I had the boob voyage party, and this was just another way of me celebrating my old self and saying goodbye in a way that felt official. It just needed to be official for me. I didn't want to wake up and then say, I never said goodbye to my boobs. I never said goodbye to my old life, this is weird for me. I don't want to have this body anymore. I miss my old body. I will say that again, but at least I'll have said, I think you have to acknowledge that things are going to change. You have to accept that things are going to change. You have to accept that you're going to lose certain parts of your body. And for me, doing an official like party and the sculpture and like taking photos, those were important ways that I could say goodbye and accept it. The truth about living with cancer is there's no right way to do it either. There's no right way, there's no wrong way. It's whatever works for you. As I've had things change, I've gotten lots of practice with accepting my situation, and it sucks and it's not fun, but it has taught me a lot, and this is the best way to move through it for me, is to radically accept it, is to just point blank say, okay, well then what's our next step? I don't wish this journey on anyone. It sucks. And I'm still really too far in it to actually know how well I'm doing with it. I think time will tell, maybe in a year, but I'm so grateful that it's early cancer and that it's really treatable. So I also try to live with gratitude. It's one of those things where you just won't know. You just don't know how you're going to feel. So have grace for the people in your life that are going through cancer, because it's a huge thing and maybe they haven't been able to accept it yet. Anyway, like this video if you enjoyed vulnerable stuff, and follow along for more baby name content, more breast cancer content. I'm really thankful you guys are here, and I hope you have a great day. Happy naming!